Good morning and good afternoon, LinkedIn friends, HubSpot Nation. Welcome to another episode of Let's Build a HubSpot Super Admin with Lucy Abal. How you doing today, Lucy?
Hi, Grace. Hi, everyone. Very happy to be here with you today. Ready to discuss the topic of the day.
Yes, we can't avoid it right now, and so much so that my engagement levels of Reddit, like kind of go up and down, but I'm always seeing the notifications of the latest post. And this one caught my attention, and I'm just going to pull it up here because it's the foundation of our conversation. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Right. So, how I audit a messy HubSpot portal as a former HubSpotter.
What portal is not messy? The first thing about that.
Right. When I do a quick audit, this is usually how I go about it. Nothing fancy, just practical steps that make things easier fast. First, I look at contacts. I clean out anyone who hasn't engaged in a long time or clearly doesn't belong in the CRM. It can actually save money if you're close to contact limits. Number two, then I move on to lists and workflows. I check for anything outdated, unused, or messy. If something hasn't been touched in ages, I archive it. I also tidy up naming to keep things clear. Number three, I review the properties in contact record view. I look at what's actually being filled out and whether the contact card is overwhelming or missing key info. If needed, I clean it up or reorganize things to make it more useful for the team. Number four, I also check how lifecycle stages and lead statuses are being used. When both are set up properly, it's a lot easier to see where someone is in the funnel and what should happen next. Lastly, I go through pipelines and dashboards. I remove any that aren't being used and check whether the main dashboards are still relevant or just leftovers from a couple of years ago. That's the process. It's straightforward, but even a quick sweep like this can make HubSpot feel a lot less overwhelming. And she asks, do you have anything you always include in a cleanup? And before we launch in, let's talk about like the positive outcome of what she's suggesting here. Why would people want, like, what benefits will this have no matter what?
Yeah, so one thing that I can agree with a lot of the things that are mentioned here in the post, but I can tell you the first thing that is missing here, that is, nothing should be done once in a while. It's not something that I come here, I take a look at your portal, and then I go and we forget. No. Auditing or cleaning up is something that that you must be doing frequently. And for that, I really always suggest, and what we usually do with clients, is we have a dashboard that is showing the state of the data, right? So you should always have your reports that are guiding you through this process, right? And I can agree that you can always be watching the marketing contacts and the non-marketing contacts, watching the amount of records with the more important properties, complete or incomplete. Yes, you can always monitor that. You can monitor lists, you can monitor the forms or the original source of the creation of contacts or of records. But again, a dashboard is always going to help you keep track of all these things. It's not something that, I need to dedicate the time, because if you're only thinking about dedicating that time for auditing once a year, you're never going to do it, and you're never going to finish, because the audit process, here are some of the things that you can audit. But each of these steps requires a lot of other internal smaller steps. So it's like the never-ending story, but that's a good thing because we are always optimizing the database.
Yeah.
But that is the first thing that I should mention that is not mentioned in the post.
Yeah. And the reason I wanted to talk about it is, while I believe it's well-intentioned, what we see a lot, right? We get these requests. from somebody you've never met before, has no idea about your business.
Yes.
And these posts are starting to help me understand why this is happening, because now somebody can go, like somebody that needs help, like they understand the HubSpot's not working well for them. They understand that their data is a mess, and that they need it to be better. And they ask for things like data cleanup, optimize my HubSpot, help me get more out of HubSpot, help my team use HubSpot, help me build reports, help me get visibility, help me understand. All the things relate to this problem. And they can go on and they can search HubSpot cleanup, right? And come across that post.
Yes.
And it feels so easy. Like, so can you, Lucy, just come in and can you clean up my HubSpot for me? Right? Why can't you?
No, I can, but I need to have a conversation with you first. I need to have the context of the business first.
Yes.
Because it's like I'm telling you 100 pounds. Is it good for you? Or $100? Is it good for you or not? Good depending for what? If I want to buy a house, it's not enough. If I want to buy a lollipop at the candy store, yeah, it's more than enough. So lists. Yeah, a list could be a perfect list, a very well properly made with the filters and that. But why it's not being used? That doesn't mean that I'm going to go delete it or archive it, because maybe it's not being used because the people that should be using it doesn't know that they exist. They doesn't understand how it's made, so they don't understand the value of that list. And the same thing with workflows. Workflows could be good, but maybe the trigger is wrong, or maybe the information is missing. You put a trigger and we don't have that information currently. So yeah, you're going to go archive it. Yeah, fantastic. And you just throw out something that was super important or really valuable, but there was something that was missing. So it's not as easy as, yeah, no, this list is not being used. Goodbye. No. Right. And the same thing with workflows, and the same thing with properties.
Yeah.
One time,
it scares the hell out of me when it comes to pipelines, like, because we know that there's a problem that people try to do way too much inside of one deal pipeline. And I think what's missing for me here is understanding the context of, like, when somebody's asking for cleanup, right? Even if it's an internal admin, right? Because I'm trying to figure out who can go look at this post and then just like execute. And I'm having a hard time getting there, because even the internal admin, right? If somebody in the organization has said, okay, we got to clean up our portal. It's a moment of re-engagement, right? Like,
yes,
the portal is messy because it's either been indirectly or directly mismanaged and misunderstood and not adopted in some way. Now you have somebody asking you to clean it up for some reason. The moment you, like, they're re-engaged, and then you go to delete the thing that was put there for a reason in the first place, and then be like, no, we need that, right? So, but worse, if you just go off and do it and then bring them back in, they're gonna be like, well, where's this? How are we supposed to track this? How's my team? Like, in those spaces, like, we got to get good at challenging the thought that this is all formulaic and standardized and, like, easy, right? HubSpot is easy to use when set up properly, right?
Yeah, and I think while you were talking, I just realized that in cases like that post, we generalize that data cleanup is everything. And no, and I would like to come back to the basic concept that data cleanup could be the data model, the objects, and the properties. Let's just stay only there. And I'm not saying that lists and workflows and pipelines are not important, but let's just then put lists as segmentation as a whole new other chapter, because it's another whole big conversation. Of course, it's based in the data model and the properties of the data, yes, but it's a whole other conversation. And the same thing, it's about pipelines. Sales enablement is another whole conversation. So let's just not put everything, all the cats in the same bag. Because one thing is my cat, a Siamese, and another thing is a tiger. Yes, they are all cats, cuddly, beautiful, but it's not the same thing.
Oh man, that's a
So
good way to put it.
yeah, so that's the first thing. So coming back to data is talking about the data model, that it's appropriate for that business and that maturity of business, because the data model can change. And I have been working with a lot of companies updating the data model because they have grown so much and they are buying another company. So the data model keeps changing and updating. Yes, and that's normal. It's not something that we decide once in a lifetime. No, the data model is going to change as long as your business is going to keep growing. And another thing again is the properties. And that is going to be the foundational point of view for all the other things. And I was telling Chris just before starting, I had a funny conversation with a client this week, because the CEO of a company was telling me, okay, yeah, Lucy, help us optimize our ad campaigns. Yeah, okay, I said, fantastic, we will get there, but we need first to finish with this foundational part about organizing the properties for your contacts, the properties for your company. We still have a lot of mess up, a lot of duplicate properties, incomplete data. So if we want to arrive at a point that we will do remarketing, that we will have audiences, lookalike audiences, that we will target our contacts in the CRM, we need first to understand what do we have in the CRM. So she was thinking, they are a logistic company. So she was thinking about, yeah, my ICP, my ideal customer profile is logistic managers. Okay, fantastic. How many logistic managers do you have in your database? I don't know. Do you have the job title, the job role of the contacts? No, less than 1%. So how do you want me to help you address or target better your ad campaigns or do remarketing if we don't know, or if we first don't dedicate time to complete and update the data in our database? We are just trying to jump the canyon. That's not going to happen. You're going to drop in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah, I can help you spend more money. I'm good at it. You can ask my husband, but we're not going to get there. So we cannot, there are some steps that we cannot miss. We cannot talk about pipeline if we haven't finished knowing what information is important to be gathered during the whole process. The marketing team will have some responsibility. The SDRs or BDRs will have some responsibility. The sales team will have some responsibility. Everything will be gathered at the right time by the right person. But we cannot skip to the, yeah, I want to sell more. Yeah, I want to have better conversion rates in my ad campaigns. Yeah, fantastic. That will be the goal or the side effect of organizing all the previous steps. And thinking about AI, and we are less or 1 month away from inbound, and a lot of things are going to be announced and launched at inbound. I cannot tell details, but regarding AI, a lot of things will come.
Yes.
And again, we have discussed this with Chris in our previous events. AI is only going to be good, and I think you have discussed this with Nico too, if your database is good, if the information in your CRM is good. It can help you complete information, yes, but you cannot expect, I don't know, AI solving for your business when you don't give it the right information.
Right.
So if we want to use agents, yes, but we need to give them all the knowledge and all the description and all the properties where that important information lives.
Yeah.
So we need to do first the step about caring that a database is clean, not really clean, updated and accurate for our business. Because we could have, imagine that we could have 1,000 or 100,000 contacts, but 90,000 of those 100 contacts are students. And I'm a B2B company. What am I going to do with students? I cannot sell to them. I'm not going to recruit 90,000 students. So yeah, you have all the information complete. You have the job title, you have the role, you have their email, you have, I don't know, the university, you have even the company where they work. but they are not your target audience. So that doesn't count. It's not good for you. 90% of your database, you can throw it away. You can delete it. Of course, you can mark it as non-marketing contacts, not to pay for them. But we need to understand the quality of the data that we have. That's the first step. You cannot think about growth. You cannot think about optimizing your campaigns. You cannot ask the sales team to close better deals or more deals if you're not giving them good information, if you're not giving them good opportunities, right? And that's the eternal discussion between marketing and sales, right? Who's responsible for not closing better deals? Are the leads that are coming? Is the qualification of those leads? Lead scoring, another topic, lead scoring. It's based on the data that you have in the CRM. So how are we going to score our leads or deals if we don't have information there?
Yeah. And just to like put it in perspective, I'm going to share my screen because it's never been easier to start to answer these questions. And like, I even come across new spots where it's like hitting us in the face how bad the data is, right? Like in the property screen, like under data management.
Yes.
Like we now have fill rate.
I think that was one of the best and most silent updates of HubSpot. And it was actually put like low impact. And I think that is one of the best things for an audit and for any portal. And I always take my customers to look at that. Yeah, you're telling me that this property is important, but you have 0% fill rate. Where are you using this?
Right. And if we want to leverage this data anywhere, in any way, like whether it's for ads, whether it's for segmentation, whether it's getting help from AI, filling in the gaps. Like if it's 0, if it's 10, if it's 20, like that's where AI is going to be playing a guessing game, and it's not going to be fun. You're going to lose that game like every single time. That's when you take a step back and be like, okay, it's not about like getting rid of the property or like making a different one and then trying to remake the process. It's like, first of all, confirm that we do need this data, right? Because there's lots of stuff that like, company size and all this data that we can buy from everywhere to enrich. Like there's plenty of businesses where company size does not matter like at all. And don't do the work of trying to fill it in just because you see this here and it's only at 22% and I need to get everything to 100. Like, no, like step one, do we need the data? And if we're saying yes, why? Like, why do we need it? What is it activating in the portal? And now, like we mentioned an update today, like active lists can get added to campaigns. Like, exciting times. It's really bringing all of this together. And between this screen, which is the normal screen, and these are the kinds of updates I was hoping for in terms of, like you can create like data management, data quality. This kind of information's been available for a while, but most people are not coming over to data management and data quality. And now that it's here, it's like we can at least have a conversation. And if you're in auditing and you're cleaning up, like it used to be, you'd have to click the used in and then understand. And even that's different now. And even as I click on that, it's like staring me right in the face, this fill rate. I love it. Like we need, oh man, this is so good. But just that's the context of this specific portal that you start to understand, and don't just start actioning like, oh, 0%, we're getting rid of it. Like,
and imagine that you have a property with 100% fill rate because you imported that data and you completed everything, but that is not being used anywhere.
Yeah.
That is another thing to ask. Hey, I noticed that this is something that you have a lot of information about. How can we take advantage of this if this is important for you or not? Because it's not being used. And that doesn't mean that, again, because it's not being used, we're going to archive it. It could be the case, but maybe not, right?
No, because that's going to get us to like the credits usage, and that's already been a thing. Like we've paid so much to enrich data through Zoom Info and all the places, and like for what? Like every data point can cost a credit. And if you've been paying to fill in that company size field and there's no reports and there's no nothing like working off of it, like you're wasting money, you're throwing money, like you're
I think
burning money.
that is going to be the next crisis. Admins going crazy, spending credits, completing everything everywhere. We're going to end up having complete databases, but again, useless information.
I can't
And
wait
that's
for the
not the
first person.
point.
I can't wait for the first person to post about like 100% fill rate in my HubSpot. Like, yes, I've done it. Like,
Yeah. But
oh
again,
man.
we are missing the first step, that post of Reddit, the one that you shared at the beginning. We are missing the business conversation. So whenever we are doing this process, the first thing that we do is have a conversation with the business. Have a chat with the marketing team, with the managers, with the sales team, with the customer success team to understand what is important for them. So then I can start the audit process. I cannot start first. Yeah, I can look a couple of things. I can tell you, yeah, you have 20 super admins in your portal that this shouldn't happen. Okay, yes. Users wasn't mentioned in that post, and it's something that is important, users and permissions. But yeah, I think the business context is the most important thing first. And maybe it's implied in the post. Yeah, let's just not be so cruel, Chris. We can be better.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, like most HubSpotters, she's like ends with the question of like, how are you doing it? And what we've seen like Casey Hawkins show of like how do HubSpot experts, like what's the first thing they do when they come into a portal, right? And I
yeah,
think that's where my true problem is like we start doing things. Like that's like no. Like we need to start understanding things and asking questions. And that's where we put ourselves in these positions of we're not a consultant, we're just a doer. And the expectation is that we just go in there and fix stuff. Meanwhile, the business leaders, like they might come off that they don't have time for stuff, right? But it's our job to make sure they understand why that time spent is important. Just 30 minutes, right? And it only takes a few key moments to say like, oh, okay, yeah, this is not going to be as easy. Or, oh, wow, there's so much opportunity here. Like I didn't realize. I just thought we were going to clean up some properties, and actually like our whole business can take advantage of this opportunity that's been staring at us in the portal for like the last year, right?
yeah,
That's the way I like to think about it, because these cleanups, right? It's all about like say like as soon as she said like clean up contacts because you can save money, right? Not the reason to be deleting contacts. Like it is one of many possible reasons, but every contact record, every record in HubSpot, if it has meaningful data on it, and I'm going to sound like a digital hoarder here, which I definitely am. Like, so I'm sure there's a balance, but what value are we just tossing out the window because we just need it to be cleaned up, right?
yeah,
How do you think, like, one of the things when I'm talking people through a data model and trying to get to this place of standardization while configuring HubSpot for the business, right? Because every business is different because of the people that are in it and how they work. I don't think it's has anything much to do with what they sell and like because I find customers like and what customers want and how they buy as a way to standardize these approaches to get to, because it's not hard to get people on like with that ads conversation. Like you need like the better the unified picture is of the people you're trying to target, the better the ads are going to be, the better the conversions are going to be. So it's pretty easy to get people on board with unified view of the customer, right?
Yes.
Well, if we want that, is it based on our process, our internal like needs? No, it's not. So as soon as you can flip that switch to say, what does the buyer need? What does the customer need at every point in the journey?
Yes.
Again, it's an effort. But once you figure that out, standardization gets easier. How we think about getting multiple teams together to agree on stuff gets easier. Is that something, as you dive into these cleanup moments, like how are you talking people through these steps of things that people have been challenged for a long time? In some situations, we've never actually solved like the roots of these problems, but AI is helping us uncover, I think, the root causes in a way that we haven't seen before.
Yes.
So how do you take people through that?
And I think that you mentioned something that is really important that it's also missing in that post. And a couple of weeks ago, I was asking ChatGPT to help me write an email. So the first thing that ChatGPT, and I put the context, but I forgot to put who I was sending this email to. So ChatGPT, the question that actually gave me was, who is your audience? Who are you writing this email to? And when we're thinking about, again, the data, if it's clean, not complete or not, is who are we selling to? What is your TAM, your target addressable market, and your ideal customer profile? And my conversation about the segmentation actually ended up there. Who are you selling to? What are your messages about? What are your ads about? What is your website talking about? Who are you talking to? Because sometimes we forget, and in website is, again, it's something also very common. Can you help me optimize my website? Who are you selling to? Your website is talking to leads, to prospects, or to clients? Because if we don't have that clarity in our mind, it's very, very difficult to optimize something. We cannot speak to everyone all the time, be very generic, because yes, if we are very generic, we are going to attract a lot of different type of public, of leads, of different maturity, someone that is just browsing and someone that is ready to buy. Yeah, but you're going to spend a lot of money doing that, a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to know your customers. If you're doing the long journey of doing awareness, consideration, decision, yes, we have been taught by HubSpot and by Inbound that is the right way, but times are much faster now. People is no longer using Google to search for stuff. You're no longer doing that. They're using ChatGPT, so the answer needs to be pretty straightforward. We need to create better content that is gonna address that target and with the right information, right? So we need to start rethinking how we position ourselves, the value proposition again. That always comes first. So those are the right questions to do. If you're a super admin and you want to start doing an audit to a client, start asking that. Who are you selling to? Who should we have in the database so that we can make sure that they have that? And if they don't have it, we need to tell them, hey, your database is shitty. We need to start all over. But at least you're being straight and honest. And it's not about, yeah, you're paying more or you're paying less on marketing contacts in HubSpot. Because if you have the right audience, you should be happy to be paying for those contacts if you're getting the return of investment of that. And a lot or a few, it depends on the business. The other day, I ended up the conversation asking, because she was telling, no, because we have few conversions. If you sell to 100 customers today, are you going to be able to serve them? Oh, no. Why do you want more? Why? Because it depends on the value of your services, but 10 new customers could be a lot to you. So why are you aiming to have 1 million impressions vanity metrics are always not the right way of thinking ad campaigns, right? But again, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And we try to focus on quantity because it's easier to show results, let's just say, because it's not true, than to show quality.
KPIs, gotta hit them.
But KPIs could be wrong too,
They
because
often are.
they often are, because they are focused on the wrong thing, right?
Yeah.
So
It's, and you find the incentives, you find the behavior, right?
Yes.
Like, and that's where I get it. It's challenging when you have a board with expectations asking for lead numbers and lead scoring, like the top reasons that HubSpot is asked for, like lead scoring and lead management and lead gen. Like they're just not, they're coming from a place of we need more revenue usually, or need sustainable like strategies, because we can't just keep hurrying up at the end of every quarter. Like we know that doesn't feel right. Yet we've been taught to think that these volume-based tactics are the way that we get to the revenue, right?
Yes.
Like, so even switching, this is where both sides and why we're here on this show. Like, if you're an admin trying to support your team and getting more out of HubSpot, we've got to, and we've talked about this a lot, we're going to continue talking about it, like the challenger coach like mindset. And that's where there's buttons, like there's AI suggestions showing up in the portal. We just announced one today, like on the update show, like suggested workflows based on behavior inside of HubSpot is in a private beta. And as an admin, we need you to be okay with not being your idea, right? But what we need you to do is click the button, see if it's 80% right, 60%, 90%, and get that last mile done. And that's working with your team to figure out, like, is this actually something we need to automate or not? If we do, what is it? What's the value of automating it? And sometimes that value is about like, what does this free up somebody to do because they've been doing this thing manually, right? And a lot of times it's outside of HubSpot, like this world of spending 100% of your time like selling, because like moving from 30% where we've been forever to closer to 100%, because we're just continuing to talk to humans and build relationships for the business. This is where we were prior to SaaS, prior to digital. Like salespeople had to go to events, had to meet people in person, like call them on the phone. Like that was the only way they could move relationships forward. There was no automation, right? And they did it, and they're still doing it. That's the crazy thing. Like there's people out there that don't touch CRMs. They're very successful salespeople. It's the only thing in the business where you can take somebody from like, stranger, doesn't know you, to like verbal contract agreement of how much I'm going to pay you, like with no documentation, just all words, right? And that happens because we've built trust, right? And they have a need and you're really good at solving for it. And we just have to, like, that context is what we need to try to recreate, like in our portals, in our systems, because those people can do so much, like more to help the business, but to help more customers, without just throwing headcount and automation and agents
Yes.
at
And I
the
think that
issue.
at some point we will become, or the tool will become more fully automated. But again, what should we do with that information? Because if we have the fill rate 100%, if it's not being used, or if it's being used, but what are we analyzing about that? Because what's going on, imagine in a world that everything is fully automated, how do we know that this is working? How do we know what should be optimized? When do we know what this is going another way? Or because automation doesn't mean that everything is okay. What is going okay, it will go faster, okay? But what is going wrong, it will go faster wrong too. So, and we have discussed about this a lot. So we need to understand what are we going to do with the data too. Yes, we are going to have AI making suggestions. Yes, we could be pressing buttons all day, automating everything. Yes, that could happen, or it will happen eventually. But how are we analyzing what's going on? How are we analyzing? How do we know that everything is being beneficial for the business? Because not all businesses want to generate revenue. That's another thing that it took me a while to understand, because at first we all think that no, business needs to grow, and HubSpot actually thinks that all businesses want to generate more revenue. And when you go outside the United States, that's not entirely true. Not everyone wants to generate revenue. Sometimes they want to be more efficient. Sometimes they want to serve clients better. So the main goals could change a little bit. So
more impact, more purpose,
and that's more difficult to track.
Yeah.
Because revenue, it's easy. You go, you see the deals, you see the return of investment, you see the lifetime value of a client, you generate the reports. And yeah, okay, that's it. But how do you track something that is not so measurable in money?
Yeah.
And that's the more challenging thing, because we are used to think that everything is about money. And as in life, not everything is about money, and neither with HubSpot.
Right.
A lot has to do with efficiency. A lot has to do with SLAs for the team. So there's a lot more that we could be tracking. So it's not as easy as, okay, yeah, as long as deals are always up and the invoicing and payments are always going up, yeah, but that's not everything, right?
Yeah, and that's the magical part of what I'm seeing about AI right now. Like the ability to pattern match and do trend analysis. Some of the sentiment based like tools that are starting to show up in HubSpot, like amazing in terms of these qualitative aspects of business becoming tangible and measurable, because you have an AI friend that can see all the transcripts, all the emails, and say, hey, this is not going well, or it's going great. And it's like pulling out the places. So at least like it's, and obviously without all the context, without perfect data, it's not going to get it right all the time. But it gives us all the opportunity to correct in the moment and understand, like, is this something we need to correct? Is this context where the AI is missing? Is this a piece of data that's causing it to think in this way? Right? Just like,
Yes.
I mean, bring it back to the challenges of email communication. Like if you've ever tried sarcasm, like in an email, like
yes.
it never works ever. Right? So don't do that. But those are the kinds, like you've seen people just read the email, like miss a word, and then they just go off. Like the same thing can happen with AI. And like we just need to understand how to like, work through that and help us build up these foundations of context. And as we wrap up, I want to share this event that is happening at the end of this month, because we're pretty serious about taking care of this data issue. Like it's one of the few things I think you'll be able to control, like moving forward, especially after what we all expect to happen at Inbound. The way I've been, one sec. Like I think we're about to see what HubSpot really means when they say AI first. You can be prepared for that moment, even though you might not have any idea what it means. I think most of us don't know for sure, right? Like there's a whole, like AI first means something different than what the HubSpot we've been experiencing. But the one thing we can control and make sure is ready is our data, right? So the week before, August 28th. Got a bunch of great experts coming together. And again, it's trying to think about data strategy differently, but not just from a strategic. Like there's going to be workshops, there's going to be roundtables, right? But like think about this, using data intelligence to support your customer's journey, like instead of exploit it, right? Because like Lucy said, like if this is your goal going in, like AI can help you do that. Can help you do it at scale, can help you do it faster. But to what ends? If it's not actually serving and creating value for your team, for your customers, it's not gonna end up well, right? So it's this whole approach of like, let's just align with the buyer journey, which I refer to as the value path, right? And as soon as you do that, we can ask better questions, right? It's not about which property and how we name it. It's like, which questions are we asking and how do we expect it to be answered at each stage? And this is like we've talked about, like supports a better data model, right? Things like that. And really excited. It's a free event, right, on August 28th. And we're serious about trying to help, solve this problem. So really excited for that one. So
Yeah, and you can always learn something new. So even if you think that you master data cleanup, or even if you think that you master being a HubSpot super admin, I think learning how other people think and how other people execute could give you a fresh new point of view. So yeah, you can all join the event and learn new stuff.
indeed. Well, thank you so much, Lucy. This was a fun, and I think productive conversation. I know it helped some people out there, and I guess you get to get back to the beach now, yeah?
Get back to holidays, yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for taking time, and we'll see you next time.
Talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.